There are many diets and drug treatments that can achieve short-term weight loss. Mm-hmm. The main problem really seems to be sustaining an optimal weight after the weight loss. And there's this well-known phenomenon of the yo-yo effect, meaning that people regain and actually overshoot their pre-treatment weight. It's interesting that recently there's been some very interesting science, the role of the microbiome in that yo-yo effect, that somehow there's some kind of a memory at the gut level of this phenomenon. And even famous weight loss programs like The Biggest Loser have had this problem. Why do you think your program is able to avoid it?
Right. Well, I did write a book on that subject, by the way, the book that I called The End of Dieting. And in the book, The End of Dieting, which is one of my recent books written 3 years ago, it discussed the dangers of going on and off diets and yo-yoing your weight, and why people don't succeed on diets, and why the focus here is different. Because the focus is not on the immediate short-term weight loss, it's focused on long-term health and how we have to eat for our long-term health to prevent dementia, to prevent cancer, to prevent heart disease. And we're doing something, we're recognizing that the changes we make in the short term have to be maintained for the rest of your life. Anything you do short term will have no long-term benefits unless you stayed with it. So if you were drinking some pink drink to lose weight, or some dangerous keto or paleo diet to lose weight, it's no benefit to you unless you stay eating that way for the rest of your life, because the weight's not going to stay off you. And the minute you come off that diet, it's going to come back worse than it was before. So anything you do in the short run, anything you can't maintain for the rest of your life is no value in doing. So The Biggest Loser is a ridiculously ignorant concept. People couldn't maintain that degree of exercise when they in the real world. They're not going to be living their life doing hardcore exercise for 2 hours a day. That's not realistic, you know. So they still have the problem of nutritional deficiencies that drive them to overeat calories. So it's just bad programs get bad results, right? So this is what I'm saying is this is different. We want to teach people why they should live healthfully, and why they should learn to cook in a healthy manner, and how to make healthy foods taste great, and the change they make, they're trying to incorporate for the rest of their life, not temporarily. And just because it causes tremendous weight, for you to normalize your weight, it's not going to maintain that unless you stayed on the same program for the rest of your life. You're not eating this way temporarily, and we're eating this way to not get dementia, live a happy life, and we're making the food taste delicious anyway. So we retrain the taste buds so you prefer this way of eating. I enjoy eating a Nutritarian diet the best. I like the flavor of it the best. We have Nutritarian restaurants that make like gourmet Nutritarian food. And I have cookbooks on the Eat to Live cookbook, for example, on how to make healthy food taste great. So we want people to incorporate this new way of eating into their life permanently with the right degree of intellectual awareness that if you're not going to make these changes and stay with it forever, it's not going to benefit you to do it for a short period of time and go back to eating the old way again, because then your weight's going to come back and made you worse off to make your weight go up and down. So we're in agreement that healthy eating has to be the focus here, not just weight loss.
Okay, absolutely. One question that often comes up when you adhere to a nutrient-rich, calorie-restricted diet, rich in produce, and is there any need to take supplements, which has become obviously a huge business, or do you get enough from this kind of a diet?
No, I think that supplements become absolutely essential when your level of animal product consumption gets too low, because you can become B12 deficient, because you need animal products for B12. You also only absorb 20% of the zinc in plant foods. And the other major factor, weakness in a diet that's largely plants, is having to get sufficient DHA and EPA for the brain. About half the people will not make enough EPA and DHA from plants. They are more animal product dependent for that EPA or DHA. So we want to make sure that people supplement conservatively and intelligently and don't develop long-term problems with depression or dementia because they're not taking B12 and DHA, for example, are the two most critical supplements to take when your diet is largely plants. You're not eating seafood and wild animals that would supply that DHA or B12.
Mm-hmm. Another question related to this increase or optimization of intake of plant-based foods. So considering the chemicals that are being used today to grow much of our plant-based food, in particular chemical fertilizers and insecticides, isn't there a risk that you inadvertently ingest a lot of things as part of a plant-based diet that are potentially harmful?
There's always the risk of taking in potentially dangerous toxins from food and being contaminated with biological agents, with E. coli, with glyphosate, with chemicals on your food. Yes, there's always the risk. However, because of the laws of biological concentration, there's more residual toxicity and chemical residue in animal products than there are in plant foods. So as a whole, analyzing the level of chemical residue in animal products versus plants, there's much more in animal products than plants. There's no one, so I think we're agreeing on is that the quality of our food matters. We don't want food to be contaminated or have chemical pesticides or residue or infected bacteria or parasites, or we don't want our food contaminated. And that's why growing some of your own food is valuable. That's why buying organic and not especially in things we know that are heavily treated, certain like the dirty dozen. I mean, recent studies just came out showing that the large amount of the kale consumed and made in this country has a lot of pesticide residue on it. It's very important to eat the leafy greens now organically to make sure you're not getting too much pesticide or chemical residue. It is an issue, and an issue that we have to be some concern about, to trying to eat more organic, supporting organic growers, and to removing chemicals from our environment.